Hey guys, I'm John. Welcome back to my channel. I am here with my new friend Jordan,
Yeah, hello.
and we're here in Sylvan Lake with our big blue, beautiful flags showing our support for Alberta independence. Right there is the lakeshore, and so I wanted to talk to you because I heard some good references from people who spoke very fondly of you.
Allegedly, I didn't think I was that smart, but I guess so, eh?
It's like you never know what people are saying, but yeah, a lot of people say good things about you. So you've got, what's your opinion on the future of Canada here right now? What do you think's happening?
Future Canada, well, that's going to crap. I mean, that's about as plain as I could put it. I mean, uh, this country's been run too long by liberals.
Yeah.
And it's simple as that. I mean, you look at the laws and the things that have been put into place for us.
Okay.
It's simple as that. I mean,
But some people would say, well, independence is just anti-liberal, right? And I feel like it's a little bit more than that, because even if we were to ever get a conservative government again, the kind of changes that need to be made, I don't feel like we could make them,
no.
right?
No.
So, yeah.
No, the way our government is set up, you can't necessarily, just because we have one kind of government, doesn't mean you can make certain things go away. I mean,
Yeah.
And so even if we were to get conservative, like he says,
Yeah.
there's really no way.
Yeah, well, and like literally there's no way, because like the Constitution is set up where 7 of the 10 provinces, and then they need to represent a majority. In Quebec it's a veto. Our Constitution can't be changed. It's unclear if the king actually has power in Canada or not.
Yeah.
When you really look into it, it's like he actually owns the military. They swear allegiance directly to him. It's like, and then and then really it's a bureaucracy. Like, how much power do these bureaucrats behind the scenes have?
Yeah.
So you're in high school, or you graduated?
Just graduated, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's an anti-liberal thing, like you said. I think it's an anti-control thing as well. Like a huge part of what's going on in our world right now is control.
Yeah.
The media, the government, the corporations.
Yeah.
Everything. It's all control. That's all it is, really. And that's what's behind all of these laws and everything that's coming in. And
So,
liberal government.
but like independence, the risk is we just do it all over again. Because like I kind of get that. It's like, okay, these big powerful entities that are controlling things. My idea with independence is that we're going to have the ability to make a system of checks and balances that is the best the world's ever seen. All right, right now I think the United States has the best system, and there's some good close seconds, but Canada is like a 25th, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
But like, we can take all of that we learned and put that together and make a republic that's like really hard to corrupt. And obviously everything's possible to corrupt, but it gives me optimism.
100%. And who knows if, let's say my generation comes into control of this country. Who knows? Maybe we screw it up. Maybe we make the best country the world's ever seen.
Yeah.
But if we don't do that, if we don't try and see, we won't ever know. What we do know for a fact right now is this country isn't what we want it to be. And regardless of where you stand on independence, our country isn't where we want it to be. And that, like, liberal or conservative, obviously we aren't doing as well as we want to be. Otherwise we wouldn't be having these issues. And so obviously something needs to be done. And I think this is the best option of getting better, whatever that means for our country.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's like I want freedom, and I see like what we could have. Honestly, we could have a constitution in a year and a half. We could be writing it, where it's like free speech is a God-given right that shall not be infringed, and bodily autonomy, God-given right that shall not be infringed. Right to self-defense, God-given right that shall not be infringed. You know what I mean? Like, we can take control of our future. We don't have to go along with just the way things have always been and I guess we'll never be able to fix it.
Yeah, totally right. And I like the fact that you say God-given right. Like, at the end of the day, God is in control, and I think more than anything, more than we should be focusing on liberal or conservative, independent or unity.
Yeah.
The one thing that we as Canadians and as Albertans need to focus on is God gave us all of this. How are we to honor Him? And regardless of how you stand on God and on what Jesus did for us, I believe that is something that we need to take, that we need to consider. Is like, how did we get this country? How did we come to live in this country? I mean, what is it? Just about 160 years now that we've had Canada, and it's a far cry from what it once was. What did those people who made Canada fight for? What did they? I mean, if we met them today, them fathers, they. We might not agree with them on everything, but at the end of the day, they created this country.
Yeah.
And
that's something. I was looking into the history of Canada. Like, I love studying history.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't really have a moment, although there were many moments where Canada came together, right? There were the 4 founding provinces, Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. And I think PEI was once part of it. And Newfoundland wasn't even part, but it's like you learn about the history of this and you're like, oh, okay, so then they just annexed in the rest of it because they wanted to stop the United States from taking it. Yeah. And at the same time, early 1900s, right? At that time, they were promising to build their railroad through late 18s. And then it was like the United States was actually using this space. They were sending cattle ranchers up here and driving them down through Colorado and back up and down. And we just about became part of the United States. And I think that and then after the Civil War, there was a fear that maybe they would, like all the loyalists came to Canada, right? Mm-hmm. And the fear that they would invade. But like, Canadians have just always been afraid of being Americans. And to me, that just seems like a really dumb thing. Like, even you talk to most people, they go off and Trump. And it's like, that's the only thing. And anti-American. But like, independence is about freedom. It's about asserting ourselves. It's about deciding our future,
Totally. Yeah. And with Trump, I think, like, it's not all about Trump when we talk about, whether it goes 51st state or whether we have some kind of allegiance to America. Give it, a year and a half or something, Trump won't even be in anymore.
Yeah. 2 years
whatever. Okay. Yeah, I don't know the numbers, but, everybody talks about Trump, like you say, and at the end of the day, America's the one that has a free constitution that you cannot necessarily, and in ways I think people have gone against the constitution and you can get around that, but not the same as the way Canada has written itself almost out of the constitution that it's created. Yeah. It's pretty sad, I think, and the fact that we can, bend our laws to make the government to however the government wants to do something is pretty unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, Americans actually have rights. And a lot of Canadians think that we also have rights the way Americans do. But when you read the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, our founding document, supposedly one of them, it's the first clause says that the government can take away all the rest of our rights if they have like the discretion to do so. They'll say something like it's in a free and democratic society, then this would be limited or that would be limited. But the decision's always a couple of politicians and some judges appointed by the politicians. Whereas in the United States, it's like, no, you actually have this right. And when, the government's corrupt down there, they're taking rights away. But then they always get sued and pushed back. And it's been the best system developed so far. But we could do so much better. And this gives me excitement because we could actually set a standard for the whole world. We could start a cascade of freedom and independence across the whole world where different countries start to stand up and assert themselves. I think that's what they're afraid of, maybe.
Yeah,
You're talking about the big powers behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, totally. And I do think people are afraid of that because they are afraid of standing against what has been set out for them, standing against what the government has set before them. And I mean, when you think of smaller third world countries that have gone independent, and I mean, they don't necessarily have the power or the economic power to make a great life for themselves, to fix the problems they have.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm no history buff, but I'm sure some have. However, we have the best probably opportunity out of any country, out of any possible independent country, to make a good, proper, prosperous
prosperous
country. There you go. Sorry.
Yeah.
And why don't we? Like, we're not gonna get any better staying the way we are.
No.
So why?
No, actually, and we're actually gonna get worse.
Oh,
but you're right. We're in a really good position. We have an abundance of resources. We have a highly skilled workforce, and we have a culture that values hard work and just like get it done kind of thing, right? That's our culture, and it's like it means something to be an Albertan, you know.
100%.
And we could just hit the ground running. We'll be chasing businesses away with a stick. They say that because they'll be lining up to come here, right? They say that, oh, this is going to hurt the economy because we're like Quebec, right? Quebec, in the 80s or in the 90s when they had their referendums, they lost a lot of businesses that were service businesses because they were trying to force them to all speak French in the office, and all the people spoke English, right? But here in Alberta, it's not like the oil sands are going to move somewhere or all the forests and the wheat fields are going to move somewhere. It's like, no, the very next day, Alberta's just going to be like, okay, here's the rules. The taxes are now 50% lower. The business are going to be like, and then they're going to start flocking here like crazy.
Yeah, man, totally.
Yeah.
And I agree, like, especially with farms and ranches and industry in general, like everything has become so industrialized, it's so controlled by the government.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with laws that are for safety and with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the second that the government starts controlling every piece of what an industry does, the second the government has control over that industry, and that's exactly what they have. You know, if they want, like, I believe it's 4 companies right now, 4 big companies that control a huge percentage. I don't know the number. I think it's like 80-90% of seed sold to farmers in North America, and that's scary. Like, they can control exactly what how our seed grows and what exactly is going into our bodies, what is sold at our grocery stores, and they can control whether or not we have that food as well. They can literally create a famine in our country if they want to. They can control everything. You know what? Every vehicle that's built on the road, they can control that if they want to. So,
you know, we're not so far from that kind of world that you're describing here, because like it seems like they're setting everything up for it. Hate speech laws, free speech laws, digital ID, and then all sorts of like keeping your data off your phone for a year. Like the government will have access to your location data for an entire year without a warrant or any suspicion. Just the phone companies have to keep it and give it to the government whenever they want. I think that was Bill C-22 or 34 or something. So many of them. Yeah, but they're setting it up for a dystopian future.
100%.
Where it's like you and I are just one more little crisis away from complete lockdown. And honestly, I think my channel, if we don't win independence, my channel is probably going to get me in a lot of trouble just from what I've said here. Like, you know, there's something probably deemed to be hateful, so they put me in jail for 2 years. Like, that's the future that, you know, we're looking for. It's terrible.
Totally. And part of this, too, is, like, even on the way over here, my mom told me, you know what, Bill C-9 just passed, you know, like, free speech is illegal, you can't be saying too much on there. You know what?
Screw it.
Like, screw it.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't talk about that stuff, and that's the problem with our country, is we as Canadians, I'm going to say it, we don't have balls. We don't have the balls to stand up and say, hey, this is wrong, and we cannot stand for this. Like, that's... And that's the bottom line, is if we don't stand up for what's right, and we're not all going to agree on what's right, but we can all say with confidence that Canada is not what we want it to be, and it's not going to get any better. It's only going to go worse. So people need to stand up for what's right.
Yeah, you need to stand up. And the thing is, history kind of shows how this goes, right? There's a few people that kind of stand up and they make examples out of them. And then that usually is what triggers it. And we're all afraid to be that one person standing up. But I don't want to counsel you in the wrong way, because what we're doing here is pretty grave, right? Like talking publicly and openly about some of these issues. They could put you in jail for hate speech, stuff that you say on the internet. You know, I would say be a good Christian person, right? Speak the truth. And if the truth is hateful to their ears, then screw it.
It's a spirit, right?
Yeah.
You know what? Like, And I believe from what you're saying here that you have a faith.
I'm a Christian. Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome, man. I love to hear that. Peter was he wrote many of Paul was he wrote many of his books in the Bible.
Yeah.
In prison. And that was because of how he stood up for his faith, for Jesus, and how he stood up for what was right.
Yeah.
And you know what? The Roman government, whoever it was at the time, who didn't like that, throw him in jail.
Yeah.
You know what? That helped him. That he considered all his sufferings to be worth it.
Yeah.
There's a verse there somewhere. I think it's in Corinthians.
I'm not good at quoting the Bible, but I know what you're saying. It's like all good things turn to good for those who love the Lord. Something like that. I think.
Yeah.
St. Paul says that.
Yeah. Every so. Yeah. I don't know the exact words, but yeah.
I'm terrible at quoting the Bible.
Yeah.
But
too. I got to get better at that.
Yeah. But you know, you're right, and this is our trial, and I'm so encouraged to hear you saying this, because more people need to hear this as well. You got to stand up now. It's sink or swim. And Forever Canada, like forever is a long time. And we know what's going to happen. Canada's changing in ways that we can't even predict. And you just say, I'm going to be loyal to Forever Canada, just forever, just to a name, because it's the flag is red. And you know, we know that that's going to be a terrible path. And if we lose this referendum, we're going to get what we deserve.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Because there wasn't enough strong people to stand up and speak the truth.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And you know what? Like, people talk about, I'm proud of Canada, like, I don't want to leave Canada, choose unity, whatever. I get that. You know what? I would love to be a proud Canadian. I'm proud of what Canada was.
Yeah.
But I'm not proud of what Canada is today.
No.
I'm not proud of what Alberta is today for the most part.
No.
And what's even bigger than that is, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. I don't even know what.
Well, it's like, okay, we're an immoral country. I feel like they've lost the prerogative to govern us. You know, when your leadership is so immoral that they can't tell you what a woman is.
Yeah.
Right? When more people are dying from euthanasia, and then they're talking about chopping your organs out before you're even gone. If you're on the euthanasia list, like, this is actually being discussed. If you're talking about just all the cultures are equal, but actually some of them are going to get special treatment out of the law. You know what I mean? Like, keep on going on. The abortion laws too in Canada, people just forgot to talk about that. It's like, I don't think Canada is a moral country. And to any Christian watching this, it's like, you need to decide. This is a moment we could actually found a nation that gets rid of like 98% of all this BS, and you could be part of it. And we got the numbers to do this if all the Christians were to support independence. But if you don't support this, if you just go along with Forever Canada, then you're supporting immorality and corruption. And we know where this is going to lead. In about 5 years, there's going to be enough Muslims in some places that they're going to cancel the gay pride parades. Mark my words. And that's what the leftists are going to be getting for. It's like, well, we could do something better.
Totally right. And I like that you bring that up, actually. Muslims, so many Muslims coming in because, you know, they think they're standing for what they think is right. And some of them believe truly that it's right. And to those people, you know what? I don't agree with you, but to an extent, good for them because they are standing up for it. But I don't agree with it. And then I think the Bible sets out exactly what's right and what's wrong. But you know what? Every knee will bow one day, and I can't judge. Only God can. But at the end of the day, it's God, not me, right?
So, like, in an independent republic, I support freedom of religion, 100%. So the Muslims can come and they can have their religion. But the thing is our laws are going to be set up in such a way that it won't matter if, like, whatever they want to say. It's like, it's never going to be Sharia law here. And I see what's happening in the UK, and it honestly worries the hell out of me, because I feel like we're a few years behind from that. And you know, it's like, oh, okay, you don't want to get all conspiracy theorists. We've been at war with Islam since its conception, 1,500 years, and these people are relentless. And you know, are there some good ones? Sure, but I don't think Islamic culture is compatible with Canadian culture at all. And for our Prime Minister to say Muslim values are Canadian values, it's like, give me one example of a Muslim value that is a Canadian value.
Yeah.
Like
right.
they seem to all hate Jews just because, and they come for the Christians second. So I don't know if you want to be in this video anymore. Am I making you uncomfortable?
No, man, I love it. I love what you have to say, and even if I don't agree with everything, you know what? We're never all gonna agree with everything, and that's something that people need to hear. Is we're never ever gonna agree on everything, but we need to fight for what's right, and we can all come in as a common, you know, independent as Alberta and say, hey, this is wrong, and that needs to change. So, you know, at the end of the day, our future, and that's my future. I'm 17 years old. Like my generation is the future of Alberta, and I tell you what, if I live in a Canada one day that is that dystopia that we've been talking about, and it will be. I tell you what, that ain't gonna be no good for nobody. So.
Well, and that's a good place to leave it off. So, thanks for the interview, man. I really appreciate it.
Totally.
And thank you for standing up and being brave to voice your concerns. And we have to. This is a sacred duty. You know, I'm just like you are brave for doing this. I want to say brave, but it's like it should actually just be such a common thing. But
it's not bravery, man. It's Jesus, and that's what I want people like. At the end of this, it's Jesus. It's all Jesus, and everything that we do in this life, it's not our strength, it's God's. And so, you know, I want to give Jesus the glory. I want to give God the glory. And I want to encourage people to think about that, to think about eternity. You know what? We might live here 70, 80, 90 years, and we might see an independent Alberta, we might see a dystopian Canada. When we die, we're going to face God. And I want you guys to think about that. You know what? Like, that eternity is a long, long time. And so that's something to think about. I don't say that in hate, I say that in love, because of what Jesus has done for me, I love every one of you. I love the Muslims, I love everybody, and I want people to see that, you know what? You know, we're not going to live in this world forever. This world is gonna fall one day too. And above all of this political everything, I want people to see that Jesus is King, and to confess with their mouth and their heart that Jesus is Lord.
Amen.
And to come to him.
Amen. I boast in the salvation of Jesus.
Exactly, right? It's the one thing we can boast.
And his sacrifice is my glory. He gave it to me freely. And he gave it to you, and he gave it to all these people over here. And, you know, I feel like being a Christian right now is, well, I don't know. It's always been hard to be a Christian, you know. But
Jesus said they would be.
It
always has been. It always has been. And it always will be. But it's worth it. You know what? I guarantee you, it wasn't easy to sit on that cross, to hang on that cross, and to die for us. It was the hardest thing anybody in this world ever did. But you know what? I'm so thankful that he did.
Yeah, me too. I'm so thankful. So, you know, I'll pray for you. I will. I promise that. And I pray for Alberta independence. And I pray that God will bless us and bless Canadians, and bless all these people who come to Canada. Maybe God's plan is, I don't know, it's a mystery. But thank you everybody for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Cheers.
Cheers.